So we are with the avatar, and I hope we remain always with the avatar, because because of the three main aspects of the journey. Sri Aurobindo reveals this in Essays on the Gita as well as in the Synthesis of Yoga. That the journey or the path has three main coordinates, if we want to put it. And these three coordinates are the teaching, the master or the gateway or the avatar, whichever way we want to put it, and the collectivity. So it is in those teachings where, in Buddha's teachings, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. All three, when they go together, then the journey becomes very beautiful. So we see this even in the 4 8s. It's also there in Sanat Sujatya. So what all is required? One is the Guru. You can't follow the path without the Guru. And when the avatar is the Guru, then there is infinite possibilities. The journey also requires the Shastra, which is the teaching, the Dharma, how to travel, undertake the journey. And third aspect of the journey was disciple. And here where there is a collectivity, it is meant to reinforce each other's and be together in the whole course of journey. And this has been well known in all mystic traditions. Nothing new about what the Gita is revealing to us here. But Sri Aurobindo is reinforcing it, and of these the most important is the avatar or the Guru. Why? Because the teaching comes from him. The teaching sans Guru has no meaning. So the teaching comes, he is the one who has given the teaching, and so he understands all the nitty-gritties, the finer points which can never be put in any book form. So whatever book we may take, even if we were to write, let's say, 100 Gitas, still there are so many ifs and buts and aspects of human life and journey, so many variations. As Sri Aurobindo says that even if I were to write a Mahabharata or Mahabharata, I cannot exhaust the entire journey. So what is given is always the broad outline, the framework, the foundations. But the journey itself is in real time, where each one's constitution is different, each one's approach, temperament, predilections, the inner resistances, the possibilities are all different. So all these can only be handled by the Guru, the teacher, the master. Here in the Gita, it is the avatar. And avatar is even more challenging because when there is a fixed teaching, many gurus have replicated it. Then it becomes relatively easy because it's something which has been already practiced by the human consciousness and many have arrived. So it becomes much easier. Whereas avatar comes to open a new door, a new possibility. So literally we can say that integral yoga is not yet 100 years old. It was given to man in 1926, technically. So that way it is unfolding. After 1,000 years, it's very easy for those who come, or even after a few hundred years. As we see that when we read letters on yoga, we understand that how those who went before us, what were their difficulties, unique challenges. So with regard to avatar, it's not already a standard formula which he is giving to us saying, yes, it is right. He is giving to us something new, building upon what already has been. So this is what we see as we read about the parable of avatars. It's an evolutionary possibility, and we can see that change of form is what science tells us. The inner side of the story is change of consciousness. And we see that each form and each consciousness builds upon the other. So a fish cannot rest, but the kurma can rest. He is the stable basis on which the parvat is given. So this rest and cannot rest can be interpreted at several levels, but that's not the object of all the avatars. Similarly, we see that Narasimha is fierce and terrible to somebody who is trying to cheat God, deceive him. But we see Vaman, he has his own way. Vaman also takes everything. But Narasimha destroys the antagonist. Vaman subdues him by his wisdom. He makes him willingly surrender. So ultimately, the net result is the same. Hiranyakashipu also dies or is liberated. And Bali also is ultimately gone, but the difference we see. Similarly, we see difference between Parshuram and Ram. Parshuram is again a fierce avatar. I mean, the Kshatriyas are terrified. Now, Ram is also fierce. It's said that he is very fierce when it comes to battle, but it's subdued by something higher. So we see between Ram and Krishna. Ram is dharma, Krishna is dharma. But Ram's dharma operates more at the level of a mental ideal, a sattvic ideal. But Shri Krishna goes beyond it. So we'll see always that in the avatars there is an evolutionary progression, and that's a whole chapter in itself. The third thing that Sri Aurobindo tells us that the avatar is, there is a tendency to say any great person, oh, he is an avatari purush, he is an avatar. No. Avatar is a special phenomena. Avatar is not a vibhuti, though avatar is also a vibhuti. So vibhuti refers to the nature aspect. So Sri Krishna says that he is the avatar, but he is among the Vrishnis, when he talks about vibhutis, he says, I am Krishna. So when people describe about Sri Aurobindo's Baroda period, when they describe about how he was, say in Cambridge, he knew so many languages, he's a master poet, and they are describing the vibhuti aspect of Sri Aurobindo, which is beautiful, because he is also the vibhuti. But the avatar aspect is where he gives us the integral yoga and opens a new door. So this is how the avatar is also a vibhuti. But a vibhuti is not necessarily an avatar. Most vibhuti is an excessive afflatus of the divine energy driving a human being who, for whatever reason or various reasons, has been chosen, picked up, a chosen human vessel for a certain kind of work. So that's a vibhuti. Vibhuti need not be a saintly person, he need not be a moral, he may not stand to any of the criteria of human beings, and yet he may be a vibhuti. So this is the third aspect. Also, an avatar is not simply an evolved human being who unites with God. One may unite with God. A lot of saints have united with God, but they are not avatar because avatar is the other side of the journey. After union, to come down. So that's one conception of avatar, that after union, those who come down, and that's what Sri Ramakrishna meant when he told to Swami Vivekananda that he who is Rama and he who is Krishna is in this body Ramakrishna. So people interpret him as an avatar, but basically what it means is, he also spoke about the Ishwar Koti and the Jiva Koti. So Ishwar Koti are those who have joined with the divine, who have at some level have become conscious, and yet they come down either for a special work or because they are impelled by the divine will. Now, even that is not an avatar. So that's greatness, of course, no doubt it's a very special kind of manifestation of the divine. Because somebody who is already is a free being comes down, like Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna, but they are not avatars. Then there are moments when a person may be filled with the avesh of the divine, which is what we see in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Avesh means for a moment one is possessed by the divine breath or the divine energy or the divine power for various purposes. And such a person during those states is so completely identified with the divine consciousness which he is representing that there seems to be no difference. Sometimes we see this even in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, that Sri Ramakrishna would go to pluck flowers for offering to Kali temple. And he would suddenly be overcome by this vision of Kali everywhere, that he would see Kali sitting on the flowers. So he would not pluck a flower, come back and say puja is over. Flowers are offered to Kali. And people won't understand it. They think it's blasphemy. But he is overcome by Kali. Similarly, the Gita speaks of Brahma Bhut, an individual who is full of the divine consciousness. None of these is avatar, though they are very high, in the evolutionary ladder, very high achievements of humanity. So who is an avatar? Avatar is the supreme consciously, deliberately choosing to descend, assuming a human body. So once the body is assumed, it may all look the same. Sometimes not even same, because it's quite likely that somebody who has joined the divine may perform miracles and the avatar may not. Because his purpose is not to convince people by miracles. That's not what avatar comes to do. Being convinced by miracles is a very short-lived process, because when the person goes away, then you are looking for that miracle man. The avatar comes to show that your life is a miracle. You are the miracle. You can be the miracle doer. So he has to become a human, take a human body, take all these struggles, difficulties, and show to man that how, despite all the challenges and limitations, we can become what he became. So that's why Sri Aurobindo says the avatar is always a dual phenomena. There is the human side and there is the divine side. So asuras don't see the divine side, they see only the human. That's what we read last time. That asuras don't see. They see only the human side of the avatar and they feel he's just like us. What's the big deal? Maybe a little better in some places, but because he's the human side, they also see the limitations. Human side is both. So they say, look at his limitations, how can he be God? But the Deva quality of people are able to see the avatar inside him. Avatar is not something to be announced. One sees it spontaneously because you cannot see it unless there is that faith and a developed soul, which we'll read toward the end of this chapter, which we are now going to enter, because now we are equipped to enter into it. And that chapter is the divine birth and divine works. So basically, there are 2-3 important phrases here. One is divine birth and divine works, where Shri Krishna reveals to Arjun. This is page 168, chapter 17. The divine birth and divine works, and where Shri Krishna tells, Janma karma cheme divyam. My birth and my acts are divine. So birth is divine. We have it's not a human birth the way. That's why we have in the stories of Avatar, this has been sometimes tried to be represented as an immaculate conception, virgin birth. It's a divine, it's not that the two didn't have a physical relation, that we need not interpret like that. But still it is a divine birth, because normally when there is a physical interaction and then a child is born, there are certain mixtures that come through. And while the avatar accepts the heredity, still it's a conscious birth. Right from the moment of birth, there is a sort of awareness. It does not have a form or a name. And as the avatar develops, so we have this in the story of Christ, in the story of Buddha, in the story of Krishna. We have all these stories of immaculate conception in one way or the other. Like we see Krishna born and she sees Vishnu suddenly appear and all. So these are stories which indicate that he is born free. So when Krishna comes, all the, everything opens. So he is born free. Nothing can bind him. Sri Aurobindo uses the same word for the mother, that she is born free. So the avatar is born free, and yet he is assuming the bondages. And very real bondages. He is free, but he enters. Now when he enters, it's like a person who has escaped from a prison or knows all the prison. Now when he enters, he has to follow the rules of the prison. He can't say, look here, I have escaped, so He has to show to the average human being how to find the way out of the prison, or to change the prison, whatever may be is. So divine birth and divine works. So why does he come to that? We have seen that much of the work upon earth, intellectual revolutions, emotional revolutions, social reforms, all these the divine can do without taking a human body. Vibhutis can do it, inspired, moved by God. There have been great beings who have done a kind of social reform. Like you see in India, you have was it Narayan Guru, and you have those temples made in his name, who created a lot of social reform. We see Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, many of them. Swami Vivekananda started admitting women to the monks' order. So many of these reforms, which I could list on. Sri Rama, it was a big reform at that point of time. So there is a Vibhuti side, and a lot of these things can be done by the Vibhutis. But the avatar comes because there is a special work, an inner and an outer side. The inner side is that there is a crisis of humanity, and he opens a door through which humanity can pass to the next level. And this he does by putting a stamp upon matter, and matter itself yields to the new law. That's what we read last time, that the avatar never dies. Those who say such things that Sri Aurobindo left the body and where is he, is all foolish talk. So, because first of all, he becomes a permanent soul of humanity. We read that last time. And second is he leaves a stamp upon matter. So matter will keep seeking him. That's the story of Vrindavan. When Shri Krishna suddenly departs, streams of bhakti are released upon earth as never before. Because now they are missing. That's why the mother said, when I'll leave or go away, I won't be in your midst, or whatever language, because Huta says after you. She says, children who are going to come, they will love me much more than what you people can imagine. Which is a fact. Because suddenly that streams are released, which are, human consciousness searches, because she is here. The stamp is on matter. So there is the inner and the outer side of the work of the avatar, to which I can add means by the Lord's grace and His permission, that Mrityu Divyam. So we have Janma Karma Chame Divyam. Mrityurme Divyam. That we see in Sri Aurobindo, that even his departure becomes a divine departure. The second sloka which is taken up in this and elaborated is the famous one. Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatman sajameham paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha duskritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So there comes a key word. There are 4 key words in Indian thought. One is Arya. Sri Aurobindo says it's a noblest history. No word in mankind ever has a noblest history. It's about a psychological type. It has nothing to do with north, south, Dravidian politics and all that. Arya is a psychological type. And that is a different subject. As second word is Yagya. So Yagya, Tyaga, Tapasya, they are terms with which we all have grown up. At least, so it was a way of life. Yagya means sacrifice. So you have to forego. Its crudest meaning is you have to forego yourself for somebody you love or for some greater good. That's true Yagya. For the greater good, you are willing to forego small little or big things. Then there is Tyaga. Tyaga is an inner renunciation. You are with everything, but your life is turned upward. That's your goal. And Tapasya is gathering your energies in a concentrated spiritual endeavor. So these are terms which are common to all one-time Indian thought when people grew up. Those were the days before. And another key word is dharma. The most misunderstood word, because it's translated as religion. It has nothing, I would say, to do with religion as organized religion. Or people associate dharma with karma kand, that going and doing rituals. But dharma, Sri Aurobindo reveals to us, before we touch that passage, dharma has 3 meanings. Ordinarily, it is translated as an ethical life, a moral life, a religious life, a life of where you do all your prescribed rituals, do your social duties. But that's not what dharma is. Dharma comes from the root dhra. And dhra means to hold. Dharana, dharti, dharitri, dhuri. All of it means to hold. So dharma is that to which we hold. And as a corollary, whatever we hold on to, that holds us. So when it is said, dharma rakshati dharma, it basically is the same truth which is revealed in another way. Whatever we regard as our highest good, we hold on to. And the beauty is that holds us. So dharma is that which we hold to and that which holds us. Second meaning of dharma is all the inner way of life. Attitudes, motives, feelings, thought, through which we move upward toward the great goal. Dharma is supposed to open the doors to help us reach that goal, towards truth, towards light, towards freedom, towards bliss. And the third meaning is all the outer conduct in all the various relationships of life. So there are 3 levels at which dharma operates. And because this sloka contains that dharmasya glani, abhyuthanam dharmasya, so Sri Aurobindo explains dharma in great detail. So we shall read first about dharma, page 169. Dharma is a word which has an ethical and practical, a natural and philosophical, and a religious and spiritual significance. And it may be used in any of these senses exclusive of the others. In a purely ethical, a purely philosophical, or a purely religious sense. Ethically, it means the law of righteousness, the moral rule of conduct, or in a still more outward and practical significance, social and political justice, or even simply the observation of the social law. Now, all these are there, but there is something much greater. He will reveal in a few moments. If used in this sense, we shall have to understand that when unrighteousness, injustice, and oppression prevail, the avatar descends to deliver the good and destroy the wicked, to break down injustice and oppression and restore the ethical balance of mankind. So that's why we see that people often say, where is, somebody asked yesterday after all that event that took place in Kolkata. He says, Utho Draupadi Shastra Uthao, Kana Avna Aayenge. I just look here. I mean, Kana is, what does Kana do when he comes to Draupadi? It's very interesting since this was. Kana inspires Draupadi so much that she becomes one with Krishna in that thought. And Krishna is Kali. The whole story about how Krishna is Kali, and Krishna as Kali is worshipped also in certain temples in Kolkata as well as in other places. So, all these fellows who are there, they cannot withstand. It's not just about the way it is dramatically shown that, they can't pull the robe because she's become one with Krishna. She's not crying like a helpless woman that, oh my God, what has happened? What has the government done for me, for women's safety? She's not that woman. She has invoked Krishna, and Krishna enters her as Kali, and who can touch the robe of Kali? Dushasan is tired, he is terrified, and Bhishma feels that he has been disrobed, and all the people, members present, they feel that it's their dishonor because she moves their minds and thoughts in a certain way. So he comes and opens an inner door. So this inner door is because Krishna comes and reveals this possibility. So it's not just about an outer action, because otherwise we keep waiting. When will Krishna come and see, look at how women are being oppressed, see Krishna should come again, pick up the chakra and destroy all of them. That's not how the avatar operates. That can be done by vibhutis. That's a work which can be done by vibhutis, and there are vibhutis you will see an uprising. But there is something still deeper. So on page 171, he reveals to us now, once more, the real meaning of dharma. But before that, there is a beautiful little passage. So what that passage is, people often, it's in fashion. Is Krishna myth or reality? Now that depends on how we define reality. Ask a saint who is in contact with Krishna whether he is real or a myth. He will say, you may be a myth, I may be a myth, but Krishna is for real. It's a real experience. I'm not simply exaggerating things. This is a real experience you can read where you know that the only thing true, only one true is Mother. You may doubt your own existence, but you can't doubt her existence. So that's an experience. So reality takes place reveals itself at many levels. But people debate and discuss, is he myth or is he real? So that's not the main point. So Sri Aurobindo says on page 171, on the other hand, the life of Rama and Krishna belongs to the prehistoric past, which has come down only in poetry and legend, and may even be regarded as myths. But it is quite immaterial whether we regard them as myths or historical facts, because their permanent truth and value lie in their persistence as a spiritual form, presence, influence in the inner consciousness of the race and the life of the human soul. The world may regard Rama and Krishna as myths, but there are countless who by the name of Rama and Krishna have gone across the ocean of life. That's what is important. So we have to understand these things from the Indian conception point of view, and not as we have been told. Like somebody was saying that, people are debating whether Rama and Krishna existed or not. Equally, you can doubt whether Buddha and Christ existed or not. But that's not the way to go about it. The way to go about it, that there are levels or layers of reality. There is a physical reality, but if physical is the only real, then whole creation is a myth. Because today or tomorrow it gets destroyed, and people may doubt after maybe 200 years, 300 years, whether We guys sitting here existed or not. Imagine being called a myth, mythological figures, and painting us with some, green hair and auburn hair and white hairs, and these mythical characters were sitting in a mythical place called Savitri Bhavan. No, that's not the point. It's that state of consciousness in which we develop. So, this first thing we have to understand. Avatarhood is a fact of divine life and consciousness which may realize itself in an outward action but must persist when that action is over and has done its work in a spiritual influence. So you see again, after that action is over, it persists as a spiritual influence. Or may realize itself in a spiritual influence and teaching, but must then have its permanent effect even when the new religion or discipline is exhausted in the thought, temperament, and outward life of mankind. This is the perfect answer when people say, what about Sri Aurobindo? You see, Sri Aurobindo, interestingly, had both outward and inner aspects. Outwardly, two great events, at least two. At least, I am saying. So that is freedom of India. He awakened the entire Indian nation to its soul by the mantra of Bande Matram. He gave also the mantra of the future, Satyamev Jayate. It's there in the Upanishad, but he gave. And the second major action was Second World War. So he engaged in two major outer actions. There are other outer actions also. But also, books can be considered as both outer and inner. But also in the inner action where he gave in a new path, a new way of life, a new discipline to be followed. So this would apply to Sri Aurobindo. Let's read it again with this idea. Avatarhood is a fact of divine life and consciousness. It doesn't matter whether people recognize him or not. Which may realize itself in an outward action, but must persist when that action is over and has done its work in his spiritual influence. So you see, because Sri Aurobindo gave his bit in the participation of the freedom struggle, establishing this nation as a field of Sanatana Dharma, this is going to assert itself with time. Whatever one may do, because this nation, he said, was born with Sanatana Dharma, lives for Sanatana Dharma, and if at all Sanatana Dharma could perish, it will perish with Sanatana Dharma. So you see, that's the action. Now that outward action is over. It's now more than a century. How many years? This was 1900, early 1900, when he gave all these writings. But that action influence will continue till India discovers itself in Sanatana Dharma, which is what we see happening. So this is the first part. Second part is, or may realize itself in a spiritual influence and teaching, which we see the later part in Pondicherry, and where he gave a yoga to mankind, integral yoga, Savitri. But must then have its permanent effect. Permanent effect, even when the new religion or discipline is exhausted in the thought, temperament, and outward life of mankind. So we see this new idea of terrestrial transformation, perfection of life here upon earth, including the material in the journey, physical possibilities, all this has come. And he says something very interesting. Even when the new discipline and teaching is exhausted, meaning thereby it is now independent of the physical space or spaces. It has entered into the soul of mankind. Human beings will seek this new possibility. And they would be led to Sri Aurobindo and the mother. Or Sri Aurobindo and the mother will catch them. And then they will automatically open to the yoga. So this is where we see these two works of the avatar. We must then, in order to understand the Gita's description of the work of the avatar, take the idea of the Dharma in its fullest, deepest, and largest conception, as the inner and the outer law by which the divine will and wisdom work out the spiritual evolution of mankind and its circumstances and results in the life of the race. So that's what Sri Aurobindo explains, and what we see now is just too beautiful. What Dharma is, because Shri Krishna says that to understand dharma, it is a very complex thing, especially if you look at the Indian thought. See, dharma as do's and don'ts is very easy. Somebody 1500 years back told you a list of do's and don'ts. Now see how stupid that if we continue to follow it. Because there are many things which are contextual. It may be valid at that point of time. And everybody must do it the same way. Imagine how foolish it can get. And still more foolish, if you don't follow it, you have to be slain and cast aside. But Sanatan Dharma respects each individual's line of growth, progress, stage of evolution, unique past, a unique future possibility. So there is a dharma for each one, and yet there is a larger dharma which is governing mankind. So when the word law is used, it's not used in the sense, we find it in the typical scriptural laws, a list of do's and don'ts. So Sri Aurobindo will reveal to us, dharma in the Indian conception is not merely the good, the right, morality and justice, ethics. It's understood, that's taken. It is the whole government of all the relations of man with other beings, with nature, with God, considered from the point of view of a divine principle working itself out in forms and laws of action. So that means that you have to treat every human, not only human being, not only just human centric, every aspect of creation with respect. You can slay, but as an extreme thing where it is becoming a danger to the life of the community and the collectivity. That's why Shri Krishna till the last moment tries his bit to stay the war. That's why Shri Rama till the last moment tries to stay the war. And every time we see when he has to kill a Rakshasa or Asura, he hesitates, like with Talka. It's a game for him, but he doesn't. So Vishwamitra says, why aren't you shooting there? He says, she's a woman, I can't do it. So she is threatening again. He says, why don't he say, I just can't do it. I mean, how can I shoot a woman? It's easy for me. He says, not all that easy as you think to start with. She's a terrorist in the real sense. Then he explains to him that when you talk about dharma and adharma, you don't see the religion, gender, etc. Whatever is adharma. You can try to explain. If not, then you have to remove, because it's going to destroy the larger march of mankind. So the purpose of dharma is to keep the march of humanity together, lok sangraharth. So that's how dharma is a divine principle. Otherwise, you don't overpluck, overhoard, all this will be adharma in that conception. You have to, that's why those who were the strict followers of dharma in the Indian, the Brahmins or the priestly class, they were supposed to do with whatever they got. At the most, they could go and ask whatever they had to ask from one house. Bhiksham dehi. If they got something, they came back. If they didn't get, they came back. It's not easy. It was not like people asking, begging for food and all. No, it was not meant like that. This was the original impulse. Now it has degraded. Dharma se glani. You have to live within whatever the divine gives you. Don't pluck, don't snatch, don't try to, possess wrongly, don't hoard. So all this. So here he says, forms of the inner and outer life, orderings of relations of every kind in the world. So dharma is both that which we hold to and that which holds together our inner and outer activity. That's why unity is dharma. In its primary sense, it means a fundamental law of our nature which secretly conditions all our activities. Faith, or the way we conceive of the divine. Secondly, type, species, individual, group has its own dharma. So that's one of the problems, so simple to, we get confused. For instance, Auroville or ashram. It's not a field where you try political ideologies. It is a different field. It's a field of spiritual evolution. So you can't apply those ideas here. You can do it at your own peril. Same with the ashram. You can't say we are going to elect. It doesn't work out. Ashram is a different field altogether. So, this is the beauty that for every field there is a particular dharma. If you are in the forest alone, you can't say, I am going to be only a strict vegetarian, I won't kill even a snake whom I see. No, you will have to defend yourself. That's your dharma, apad dharma. So that's how dharma changes with the field. And in this sense, each being, type, species, individual, group has its own dharma. That's why Sri Aurobindo wrote to someone in the ashram, 2-3 people, Barinda went away. Why? Because he would not change the arrangement that come through the mother. Motilal Roy turned away. And there are people, at least one I know, where Sri Aurobindo told him, if you cannot accept the mother, it is better that you go away from the ashram. One would say, what kind of democracy is it? No, democracy, there is a place for that. But in a Gurukul or an ashram, you have to listen to the Guru. That's what you have come there for, as simple as that. Otherwise, the whole world is there. They never stopped anybody. You have the whole world. Same with Dara wanted to do 5 times namaz. So Sri Aurobindo says, there is a letter on fanaticism written to him. And he says, if you want to do it, the world is there, you can go and do it. But ashram is not the place for that. So ashram has its own dharma. Auroville has its own dharma. If you deviate from that dharma, it changes track. So, I was telling this to someone, he said, we should keep discussing. I said, for 700 years, he said, yes. I said, you know what? Auroville was created because man has failed through these means. If these means could be successful, there was no need of Auroville. The only way is inner evolution. You can't say no to that and yet discover. And if there is a disturbance to that in this process, then divine will ensure that today or tomorrow it will be moved away because it's a different field altogether. So secondly, there is the divine nature which has to develop and manifest in us. And in this sense, dharma is the law of the inner workings by which that grows in our being. So dharma in the context of yoga means following the way shown to us by Sri Aurobindo and the mother. We may not be able to follow it, so we should say that yes, I am struggling. But to justify it, that's where the error lies. So this is how man is born a asura and grows into a divine being by the yoga, by the conversion to spiritual life. Because we are born asuras means we are divided. Asuras are children of Diti, so they are divided. One part wants to follow the way, another part resists. But slowly by conversion of all the members, we grow into a Deva, the luminous being, united and joined. Thirdly, and that's why, again, you cannot mix all kinds of spiritual path and say, well, it's a place of endless experiment. Mother has given freedom, so let's do all kind of bhajans and celebrate this and that. You can do it, but at your own peril. This is a Sri Aurobindo Yoga Kshetra. If you want to do something else, there are other places. That's where the problem lies. At least leave one place where we follow the way shown to us by Sri Aurobindo and the mother. People have come for that. So we have to understand even things which may appear apparently spiritual. And in the name of we include everything. No, the Upanishads have a different path. They have a different goal. There is a common base. Even the Gita does not completely exhaust Sri Aurobindo's teaching. So we have to understand that, inner way. Thirdly, there is the law by which we govern our outgoing thought and action and our relations with each other so as to help best both our own growth and that of the human race toward the divine ideal. So this is the threefold aspect of dharma. All our outer actions should also be flow from this truth. Is it going to help us as a collectivity and the individual towards this great ideal? Or is it going to hamper and hinder? So, that's how, and a few lines below. And in this growth, dharma is all that helps us to grow into the divine purity. Imagine, So freedom doesn't mean licentiousness. I can't say mother has given me freedom, so let's drink and party and wine and dine and together we shall go to hell through the heavenly route, as it said in Savitri. That's not, it's not against anything, but there are places for that. You can drink to your heart's content, no moral judgment involved. Go to a place where people get drunk and it's okay. It's your life. You can't say, I have freedom, I'll do anything I feel like. Mother has given some very hard statements. One of them was, they are breeding like cats and dogs. Must have read it. Because this is not the place for that. You can breed. But then you should know that I just want to be a cat and a dog. Nothing wrong with a cat and dog, they are beautiful creatures. But this is a place where human beings are engaged in a much more serious work. And if we don't respect that, then that is adharma. So he said divine purity, largeness, light, freedom, the true freedom that comes through union with the divine, power, strength, joy, love, good, unity based on the commonality of aspiration. Not a unity that, okay, let's sit together and dine together. Commonality of aspiration. Beauty, and against it stands its shadow and denial, all that resists its growth and has not undergone its law. All that has not yielded up and does not will to yield up its secret of divine values, but presents a front of perversion and contradiction. I lead my life my own way. No, sir. You can lead it. Even in ordinary life, you can't do. Can one say that I'll walk onto the road wearing nothing, my way? No. Because there is no freedom except freedom of union with the Lord. But then automatically you know what is the right thing to be done at a right moment. So that's what life is. And we can't change that. But presents a front of perversion and contradiction, of impurity, narrowness, bondage, darkness, weakness, vileness, discord and suffering and division, and the hideous and the crude, all that man has to leave behind in his progress. This is the adharma, not dharma. And there is a constant tussle. That's how Indian conception of ye dharma yuddha hai. So dharma yuddha is not about two religions. So things which must pass away from creation. That's why, I say very openly, beheading people because they don't follow your religion. It's a gross adharma. Putting women behind, curtains, black and blue. It is adharma by any standards. It may be your religion, but it is adharma given that we are living in different times and different. We can't allow that. That's how humanity should react against it. Because it is adharma. Your religion may allow it, that's okay. Still it is adharma. Because it is something not consistent with the growth. You are leaving aside a whole humanity. So this is so subtle. But nowadays, what is it? Oh, to each his own religion, his own way. No, if your religion is a danger to earth, then people have to stand up against it and take care of it. Because it is adharma. Whichever be, and in the name of religion, in the guise of religion, it's a perversion. It's a contradiction to what your own highest ideal of brotherhood presents to mankind. So that's how one has to, and then there is no problem. So often people ask how to decide. I say, put this in mind. Dharma and adharma decision will be straight. There will be clarity, no confusion. But it requires a great inner clarity. And obviously, so there is a perpetual struggle and battle. And then, page 173, Sri Aurobindo says, it is these things that condition and determine the work of the avatar. And he speaks about Buddhism, Christianity. So there is a dharma. He gives, these three are always the necessary elements of the work of the avatar. He gives a dharma, a law of self-discipline by which to grow out of the lower into the higher life. So why Sri Aurobindo has given us the yoga? If we aspire to come out of the lower life into the higher life. There is no compulsion. If that is the aspiration, then this is the path. And which necessarily includes a rule of action and of relations with our fellow men and other beings. So I can't be quarreling, abusing. Mother has even said gossiping, abusing. All this is slandering with harsh words. She says it's like spiritual suicide. Because that's not dharma. This is not the field. You can do it at home if you want to lead the usual. So again, these are not moral judgments. The premise is that I want to grow. If I don't want to grow, it's okay. I mean, to each his own path. Endeavor in the eightfold path or the law of faith, love and purity, or any other such revelation of the nature of the divine in life. That's Buddhist formula is speaking of the Dharma, the Sangha, the Buddha. And in few lines below, in Vaishnavism, there is the same trio. Bhagavat, Bhakta, Bhagwan. The Bhagavat, which is the law of the Vaishnava, dispensation of adoration and love. The Bhakta represent the fellowship of those in whom that law is manifest. Bhagwan, the divine lover and beloved, in whose being and nature the divine law of love is founded and fulfills itself. The avatar represents the third element, the divine personality, nature and being, who is the soul of the dharma and the sangha. See the importance. The avatar is the soul of the dharma and the sangha. Informs them with himself, keeps them living and draws men toward the felicity and the liberation. There was a very personal thing, I think it was 2008, 9, 10 when all this book ruckus had come up. So I had written a letter and some people called me and asked me, see this one family, do you want to be part of the family? I said very much, but there is no family without the parents. You can't abuse the parent and say it's a family. So the family will become lawless. So anyways, so we have to understand that he is the soul. Can we conceive of a Sri Aurobindo ashram minus Sri Aurobindo? You may not have a place to worship, all that is okay. But the mother is the soul of Auroville. What is Matri Mandir? You don't have an image and all, but it is still Matri Mandir. It is not any other mandir. Mandir is a place where you concentrate and aspire. On whom? The Divine Mother. She is not there as a visible, tangible, though the symbol is there, but it is the mother's place. So we have to understand that that's how it is. So she is the soul of the dharma, the path, and she is the soul of the sangha. Otherwise there is nothing. That's why the mother said that the sooner we build Matri Mandir, the better it is for Auroville. And I hope it's fully completed sooner than later. It's sort of completed, but there are a couple of doors still. I hope and wish and pray. Last time when I saw the door, I prayed, Mother, let this also be. Because it's important. That is the soul. In the teaching of the Gita, which is more Catholic and complex than other specialized teachings and disciplines, these things assume a larger meaning. So, the dharma is therefore the taking up of all human relations into a higher divine meaning. Not only between us, who are part of the same flock of sheep of the Lord, flock of cows of the Lord, but also with people, the local people. That's why Mother said, how you should deal with the local people. That's dharma. You can't say they are nobody, nothing, oh, they are, No. By our example, they should feel, oh, who are these people? So beautiful, so wonderful. We were always treated with disrespect, and here are these people who are embracing us. Not literal embrace, of course, but that's dharma. When you take care of the life around you, that's dharma, part of dharma. So the entire, all human relations, starting from the established ethical, social and religious rule which binds together the whole community in which the God seeker lives, it lifts it up by informing it with the Brahmic consciousness. So our dealing with the local people should be even better. Because that's the minimum, social, religious, ethical. It should be Brahma Bhut. We should be able to see the divine in them. What a wonderful calling. And that was the beauty of Amrita. Everybody had gathered when he left his body. Ordinary worker was crying. That's why the mother said he was the first and the last manager of Sri Aurobindo Ashram. There can never be another Amrit. That's kind of, because he was following this dharma without, using intellectual words. The law it gives is the law of oneness, of equality, of liberated, desireless, God-governed action, of God knowledge and self knowledge, and lightening and drawing to itself all the nature and all the action, drawing it towards divine being and divine consciousness, and of God love as the supreme power and crown of the knowledge and the action. See, where does Sri Aurobindo says God love? People call it sentimentality. No, this all. And they quote, it's not a yoga of sentimentalism and emotional bhakti alone. Yes, God love is not an emotion, ordinary emotion or sentimentality. It is a power beyond knowledge and action. God love can, so many stories come to my mind, paucity of time. For the sake of God love, the divine manifests upon earth. Why? Because earth loves the supreme and goes and says, so many asuras are trampling over me. So she loves the divine, and divine says, I will come down. He doesn't go to heaven, he doesn't go to any other place. So when it is so true of earth, what to speak of us mortals? So often I tell people that never ever try to hurt or harm a God lover. It's more dangerous than trying to hurt or harm God. Because God is forgiving by nature. But God lovers are protected by the divine. They are the self of the divine beloved. That's how Sri Aurobindo says. There is nothing denied to the God lover because he is the very self of the beloved. If you ask the divine, tell me about yourself, whom do you love? He'll say, I love God lovers. He takes joy in them. If you try to say things to the divine, he is infinite. But try to do something again. Genuine God lover, bhakta. And I have so many stories which I have seen in life. The idea of companionship and mutual aid in God love and God seeking, which is at the basis of the idea of the Sangha. So this place is a mutual help in God love and God seeking. We are meant to assist each other in that process, not assist by way of guiding people, but assist whatever can help. Like these classes is like a yagya. We share the joy together. That's what is coming together. Is brought in when the Gita speaks to the seeking of God, through love and adoration. But the real Sangha of this teaching is all humanity. So we can include the whole humanity in this wide scope, but for this purpose, for the upward evolution. So now we'll come to the last aspect. So the Gita speaks about the outer struggle, outer action, slays the asuras. As I said, Sri Aurobindo had both these actions we can see in Sri Aurobindo's life and to an extent in Sri Krishna's life. But we don't see it in the life of many of the avatars. In Rama's life, there is an outer action. There is also an inner action. By his actions, he gave the inner law, how one should be. We see that in the life of Sri Krishna. We see that in the life of Sri Aurobindo. In the life of Buddha and Christ, it's largely an inner dharma, which itself is good enough. Sri Aurobindo says it need not be outer. But with Sri Aurobindo, Sri Krishna and Sri Rama, we see both an outer and an inner. So, with previous avatars, largely an outer action. Finally, okay, Sri Aurobindo is an avatar, Sri Krishna is an avatar, all these avatars. How can we make the best use of the great privilege that is given to us of coming in contact with them? Look here, page 175, this is the last paragraph, one of my most favorites. The inner fruit of the avatar's coming is gained by those. Oh, by becoming an Aurovillian, by becoming an Ashramite, can I have the gains? Hold on. Who gains? Who learn from it the true nature of the divine birth. Why the divine came upon earth. What is the purpose of Sri Aurobindo and the mother's coming? And the divine works, what they came to tell us, what is their teaching, what they came to do, and who growing full of Him in their consciousness and taking refuge in Him with their whole being. Man maya mam upashrita. See, who take complete refuge in them, become full of them, purified by the realizing force of their knowledge, and delivered from the lower nature, attain to the divine being and divine nature, mad bhavam. That's what we are here for. To be so full of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, so full of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, that wherever we go, whomever we see, meet, we spontaneous first impulse is Mother, 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 Mother. Mother, no other. That should be the state. And if we can reach that point, all transformation, everything is included there. You don't have to worry whether my hairs are becoming auburn or actual gold. It's okay. This is what is the ultimate. The avatar comes to reveal this is not, somebody may say this is essence on the Gita. Sri Aurobindo has written categorically. The mother is the path, the mother is the goal. If she is attained, all is attained. Short letters. The avatar comes to reveal the divine nature in man. So when we look at Mother and Sri Aurobindo's life, we understand what it means to be a Superman. And to show what are the divine works. How did they work? Now he defines free. Who is engaged in Mother's work? Free. Not attached to this or that idea. Unegoistic. Not for any personal purposes. Disinterested. Success or failure. Impersonal. Not that I want my name, my merit. Universal. They have an impact upon, take into consideration everything. Full of the divine light, the divine power and the divine love. This is what is divine work, which is the subject of the next chapter. Wherever there is name taking, name calling, name honoring, all this, wanting a chair, wanting your own name, sticking with my own idea, all this is not divine work. It's an obstacle to the divine work. Thinking of my benefit, how will it benefit me, advantage to me, what I had done and how that work has smashed. All these are egoistic ways of life. He comes as the divine personality which shall fill the consciousness of the human being and replace the limited egoistic personality, so that it shall be liberated out of ego into infinity and universality, out of birth into immortality. He comes as the divine power and love which calls men to itself. See, he's not forcing anybody. See the difference. Calls. Will you come with me? Is your heart's fire ready? You're not saying you better come to me, I am the greatest, I am the highest. No. He's playing his flute. If you feel drawn, that's it. If not, okay, that's your way, whichever way. Call men to itself, so that they may take refuge in that and no longer in the insufficiency of their human wills and the strife of their human fear, wrath and passion, and liberated from all this unquiet and suffering, may live in the calm and bliss of the divine. Sign that one has taken refuge in the divine is one is at peace, and one is free from fear, and one is in a state of inner joy and bliss. What else can it be? Imagine all the time your Mother and Sri Aurobindo is with you. Can any fear strike us? Can anything disturb us? All that we need is to turn and say, Ma. Even if the surface is for a moment touched. Can we not be at bliss when the source of bliss, the fount of the world's delight, is right there next to us? This is the sign that the refuge has been taken. Last line. Nor does it matter essentially in what form and name or putting. Now he's saying in general about the avatar, the divine becoming human, or putting forward what aspect of the divine he comes. For in all ways, so people may see the mother as a mother to their wants, or as a warrior, or as a counselor and mentor, or as wisdom incarnate, or as embodiment of love and harmony, or as all of these and beyond. It doesn't matter. But as is our approach, so we'll get the response. And somebody asked the mother about those different pictures where there are different names given. She said, you can take it like that, but actually, in all the pictures, others are also there. If you relate, the way you relate, that is the response that will come to you. So that's what is important. If you think mother is very strict and disciplinarian, with you she will be strict and disciplinarian because you need it. As simple. If you think, oh, Sharminder and the mother are very, very far, they will be very far to you. If you think they are confined to the ashram and Auroville, they will be confined to ashram for you. So, it's our faith, and this is beautifully described in Mother's famous words, I am near you. She says, as is your faith. If you think the mother will punish, you will feel the cruel tortures. And then she says, if you think divine is cruel and he punishes, he will feel that for yourself because that is what is necessary for you. If you feel he is a torturer, then he will come as a torturer, poor fellow. If you feel he is a friend who will uplift you every moment, then he will there always to uplift you every moment. And that's how he closes this chapter. Men are following the path set to them by the divine, which will in the end lead them to him. And the aspect of him which suits their nature is that which they can best follow when he comes to lead them. Some see in Sri Aurobindo a knowledge and philosopher. God knows what has philosophy got to do with knowledge. It has nothing to do with knowledge. But we mix up. Some see in him as an embodiment of love and compassion. To each the response comes accordingly. In whatever way men accept, love and take joy in God, in that way God accepts, loves and takes joy in men, in man. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tans tathaiva bhajamyaham. Thank you.